Welcome to the Communication Queens podcast for the visionary leaders, speakers, service providers, and podcasters who are looking to stand out sharing their story. I'm your host, Kimberly Spencer, former screenwriter turned master communications coach. On this podcast, I'll be coaching you on how to share your own transformation story so that you increase your visibility, influence, and income on podcast interviews. Let's get your voice heard. Hello and welcome back to the Communication Queens podcast. I am your host, Kimberly Spencer, founder of the Communication Queens agency, where we are pairing purposeful business owners with podcasts for profitable partnerships. And I am going to give you the quick rundown in the quickest quickie of quickies as to how we source only from the top 95% of podcasts. So there are 5.5 there's 2.5 on Apple Podcasts. There's about 5.5 million podcasts worldwide. It is a very fast growing medium, but it is a medium that requires consistency. And if you have been in business for a while, you know that a lot of new business owners sometimes don't quite have that discipline yet to have that consistency. Not shaming you, just saying that's kind of what I've seen having coached entrepreneurs and business leaders for the past 7 years is that there is a commitment to consistency, and podcasting is a commitment of a medium. It is a medium that requires a commitment to the art form of oratory, speaking, sharing, showcasing, whatnot. And in that, sometimes podcasters get a little tired after doing 30, 40, 50 episodes where they're doing the episode, recording the episode, bringing on the interview guests, etc., like promoting it, and then they're not seeing anything happen. So typically around 30 to 50 episodes is when a podcaster will quit. So we source only from the top 5% of podcasters, but yet these podcasts are still included in the 5.5 million. Now, not that they have been produced, they haven't had anyone doing anything with them, but they're still included in the 5.5 million podcast because they still live out there on the interwebs. Should you stumble across them, you can still listen to them. I know several friends who started podcasts who then pivoted their careers and then no longer have them. And it is what it is. And that podcast kind of just lives on and just kind of does its thing. And sometimes it's attracting new followers and new fans and new people to them and their work and their personal brand. And so it still works. So they're just leave it, but they're not actively doing it. So what we look for as an agency is we make sure that when we're submitting our clients, we want to make sure that any podcast episode that we submit them for, that they have produced an episode within the last 90 days. Only about 400,000 of those 5.5 million podcasts produce an episode every 90 days. And the reason why we also double down on this is because I have noticed a trend, and it's one that I do not endorse, of people starting podcasts, not doing the work to distribute, so they don't keep their commitment and distribute the episode, because the person who's doing the podcast, not shaming you again, podcasters, but just saying this is a tactic that makes the whole industry look bad, is when you don't distribute the episode, basically what that time with the guest was a pick your brain session for an hour where you probably got something that you needed, got some advice, got some guidance, got a Band-Aid for your problems, and then you don't distribute the episode. Or they use the illusion that it's a podcast. They don't distribute the episode, and after having a 1-hour conversation with somebody, they turn that into a pitch. Do not be that person. Do not be that podcaster. It's gross. It's icky. It does not work. It makes people feel like shit, and it turns people off who you could actually build a solid relationship with or a solid business partnership with, should you just decide to lead with genuine authenticity and care for that person. And not be super pitchy. So with that being said, that is what we focus on. So if you want to get booked on the top 5% of podcasts, make sure that any podcast you submit to has produced and distributed an episode within the last 90 days. That will automatically put you far and above all the other podcasters out there. If you're a podcaster and you're listening to this, thank you, A, for listening, and B, thank you for distributing your episodes and doing the dang thing and being consistent so that we can send you epic, amazing guests who will dazzle you and wow you. So with that being said, as always, Your voice and your story has the power to save one life. It is important that you get your voice and your story out there and heard so that you can stand out and serve through your story. I will see you next week for our next Communication Queen Quickie on Wednesday. Thank you so much for listening. If you love this episode, subscribe, leave us a review, and share it with your friends. For more tips on guest podcasting, storytelling, and communication strategies, follow us on social media at Communication Queens Agency and visit us at communicationqueens.com. I look forward to seeing you in the next episode. And in the meantime, remember, your story has the power to save one life. Let your story and your voice be heard.